Hello, welcome to another module. In this module, we'll be talking about the fundamental of HTML. I want to believe you've enjoyed the module so far. Now, what is HTML? HTML basically is a programming language. Now, we say it's a language that is used by most websites. When you're writing a website or when you're designing a website, HTML is one of those languages that we use to make the website functional. In this mode, we're going to explore some of the things that HTML is all about. Now, HTML, in the first place, it helps you to understand how a website will work. So when I want to design a website and I put a link, for example, from point A to point B, that is the function of HTML. I want to believe that you went through the introduction of this course and you've seen some of these languages, so I want to believe it's not new to you anymore. Currently we are using HTML5. Now HTML has two major things. Like I said in the previous module, it deals with the tags and attributes. Tags and attributes, these are the two major things that we're going to be working with when we talk about HTML. Now, tags are used to mark up the start of an HTML. So for me to start an HTML, I need to use a tag. Now, they are always enclosed in an angle bracket. Remember, in programming, there are various types of brackets that we use. But for HTML, we are using an angle bracket. By the time we get to CSS, we might be using a curly bracket or different types of bracket. But basically for HTML, it's an angle bracket. Now, this is an example of a tag, the H1, the header 1. For me to write header 1, I need to write it with opening of an angle bracket, the H1, which is the element itself, then closing the angle bracket. Now, you need to also know that when it comes to HTML, the HTML has what we call the opening and the closing tag. It means that for some tags to work, it has to open and also close. Nevertheless, there are some tags that we call the self-closing tags. As we run through this module, I will also try to explain or give examples of some of these self-closing tags. Now, what is an HTML attribute? Now, these are the additional piece of information that we use in HTML. So they take a form of opening tag, closing tag, putting the information there, and this is an attribute, or sometimes we call it the alternative information to your what? To your HTML tag. Now, let me give some golden rules. These are the basic rules that you need to work with when working with HTML or when developing a website on any programming language. Now, whatever you start with as your opening tag should be what you will end with as the closing tag. As a matter of fact, to make it easy for you as a beginner, when you write an opening tag, even before you put in the elements that are required, you can try to close that tag at the same time. This is an example below here. We have a tag element called strong. We have emphasis. Then we are going to close it by putting emphasis before strong. It means that you have to have emphasis, then you have to have strong at the same time. Now, this is a complete golden rule that will help you to ensure that you don't have bugs or errors when writing your HTML code. Now, the basic of creating an HTML code. So the first thing we need to do is to introduce what we call the doc type. The doc type is telling the browser that this document is an HTML document. Then we will need to introduce what we call the HTML. Then we'll introduce the header and the body. Don't worry yourself about all this. We're going to go into the practical section where you'll be able to understand this fully and try hands on them. Remember that this course is all about hands-on training, which means you can try it yourself and see you coding and making these things come to life. So I'm going to run through this example for this section of this module. In the next section, we'll try the practical. So what I'm saying here is that we have the HTML header here. We have the head, and in between the head, we also introduce a new element called the title. So if you look at your website, for example, you go to facebook.com, you go to google.com, you go to yahoo.com, you notice that by the time you put your mouse and the cursor on the tab of that particular browser or that website, it shows you the name of the website. That is handled by the title tag, and the title tag is inside your head, the header tag of that HTML element. Now, then followed by the body. The body are where we have the content of the website. It can change from your pictures to videos to other elements of it. So that is what we need to understand when we talk about HTML. Two things you must not forget is that HTML deals with your tags and your attributes. Thank you very much, and that will be the end of this particular section. In our next section, we're going to explore on how to write a basic HTML code, how to write a basic Hello World page. Until I see you, enjoy your day, and thank you once more for being a part of this course.